Chapter 1. The Girl in the Storm. The rain came down in sheets, turning the narrow mountain road into a river of mud and debris. Cassandra Whitmore gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles white as her ancient Honda struggled against the wind. She shouldn't have taken the shortcut through Black Pine Ridge. She knew better. But after 3 double shifts at the diner and an eviction notice burning a hole in her pocket, she'd been too exhausted to think straight. Just a few more miles, she whispered to herself, squinting through the windshield where the wipers fought a losing battle against the deluge. Just get to Aunt Marie's place, sleep for a week, figure out what comes next. That's when she saw her. A small figure stood in the middle of the road, illuminated by the headlights, a child no more than 6 or 7 years old, wearing nothing but a torn white nightgown that clung to her tiny frame. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and her eyes, even from this distance, seemed to glow with an unnatural amber light. Cassandra slammed on the brakes. The car fishtailed, skidding across the wet asphalt before coming to a shuddering stop mere feet from the girl. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she threw open the door and stumbled out into the storm. "Oh my God. Sweetie, are you okay?" Cassandra rushed forward, her own jacket immediately soaked through. The child didn't move, didn't flinch, just stared at her with those strange, luminous eyes. Up close, Cassandra could see scratches on the girl's arms and cheek, fresh but already clotting. "Where are your parents? What happened?" The girl's lips trembled. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible over the thunder. "They're gone. All gone." Something in those words sent ice through Cassandra's veins, a raw grief that no child should ever know. She'd heard that same emptiness in her own voice years ago, when she'd lost everything that mattered. Without thinking, Cassandra shrugged off her jacket and wrapped it around the trembling child. "Come on, let's get you out of this storm. We'll figure this out, okay? I promise you're safe now." The girl looked up at her, and for just a moment, something passed between them. A recognition, a connection that Cassandra couldn't explain. Then the child nodded and allowed herself to be guided to the car. As Cassandra buckled her into the passenger seat, she noticed more details that made her stomach twist. The nightgown wasn't just torn, it was shredded, as if by claws. There was dirt under the girl's fingernails, and her bare feet were cut and bleeding. Most disturbing of all were the marks on her wrists, circular burns that looked almost like shackles. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Cassandra asked gently, cranking up the heat and pulling her own emergency blanket from the back seat. The girl hugged the blanket close, her small body still shaking. "Luna," she whispered. "My name is Luna. That's a beautiful name. I'm Cassandra. Cass if you want. Can you tell me what happened? Where do you live?" Luna's eyes filled with tears that caught the dashboard light. "I lived in the compound, but there was fire, and screaming, and then," her voice broke, "Mother told me to run. She said run and don't look back, no matter what I heard. So I ran." Cassandra felt her throat tighten. She reached over and squeezed Luna's hand. "You did exactly right. You were so brave. Do you have any other family? Aunts, uncles, grandparents?" Luna shook her head violently. "No, no one. They'll come looking for me. They'll want to take me back." "Who will, honey?" But Luna had gone silent, her eyes fixed on something beyond the windshield, staring into the dark forest that lined the road. Cassandra followed her gaze but saw nothing except trees bending in the wind and rain. Still, the hair on the back of her neck stood up. "Okay," Cassandra said, making a decision that would change everything. "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to my aunt's cabin. It's not far from here. We'll get you cleaned up, fed, and warm. Tomorrow we'll contact the authorities and—" "No!" Luna grabbed Cassandra's arm with surprising strength. "No police. No authorities, please. They'll find me if you do that. Please, please don't let them find me." The terror in the child's voice was so real, so visceral, that Cassandra found herself nodding before she could think it through. "All right, no authorities tonight. But Luna, if someone hurt you, if you're in danger—" "I'm only in danger if they find me," Luna interrupted. Her amber eyes locked onto Cassandra's with an intensity that seemed far too ancient for a child. "They'll say I belong to them. They'll say I have to go back. But I can't, I won't, even if—" She trailed off, biting her lip. "Even if what?" Luna looked away. "Even if it means I never go home again." Cassandra felt something crack open in her chest, that old wound she'd spent years trying to seal. She knew what it was like to run from the life you were supposed to have. She knew what it meant to choose the unknown over a cage, even when the unknown was terrifying. "Okay," she said softly. "We'll figure it out. Together. But right now, let's just focus on getting somewhere safe and dry." She put the car in gear and continued down the mountain road, trying to ignore the feeling that they were being watched from the darkness. In the passenger seat, Luna had curled up with the blanket pulled to her chin, but her eyes remained open, alert, tracking every shadow that passed by the windows. Neither of them spoke for the rest of the drive. The storm raged around them, and somewhere in the distance, Cassandra could have sworn she heard something that sounded like howling, though surely it was just the wind. It had to be just the wind when they finally pulled up to Aunt Marie's small cabin nestled in a clearing. Luna let out a small breath of relief. The porch light was on. Marie always left it burning, even though she'd passed away last spring and left the property to Cassandra. "Is this it?" Luna asked. "This is it. Not much, but it's ours for now." Cassandra grabbed her bag from the back seat and came around to help Luna out. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the forest around them had gone eerily quiet. As they walked to the door, Luna suddenly stopped and tilted her head, as if listening to something Cassandra couldn't hear. "Cass? Yeah, sweetie? Thank you for stopping, for not leaving me there." Luna's voice was small but steady. Most people wouldn't have stopped. Cassandra knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with the girl. "Most people aren't worth knowing. Come on, let's get you inside and into some dry clothes. Everything else can wait until morning." But as she unlocked the door and ushered Luna inside, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that morning would bring more questions than answers. And somewhere, deep in her gut, she knew that stopping for that girl in the storm had set something in motion that couldn't be undone. In the forest beyond the cabin, golden eyes watched from the shadows, waiting. Chapter 2. Secrets in the firelight. The cabin smelled like cedar and old memories. Cassandra flipped on the lights and guided Luna inside, trying not to notice how the girl moved. Silent, predatory, like she was expecting an attack from any direction. The kind of hypervigilance that came from real trauma, not imagined threats. "Bathroom's through there," Cassandra said, pointing down the short hallway. "Let me find you something to wear. It'll be too big, but at least it'll be clean and dry." While Luna disappeared into the bathroom, Cassandra rummaged through the dresser in the bedroom, pulling out one of her own oversized sleep shirts and a pair of sweatpants that could be rolled up. Her hands trembled slightly as she folded them. She should call someone. Child Protective Services. The police. This wasn't her responsibility. But then she remembered those amber eyes, that desperate plea. "Don't let them find me." She'd made a promise. And Cassandra Whitmore might be broke, exhausted, and barely keeping her own life together, but she didn't break promises. When Luna emerged from the bathroom 20 minutes later, scrubbed pink and drowning in Cassandra's clothes, she looked even smaller than before. The scratches on her face were already fading, faster than they should have been, and Cassandra filed that detail away with all the other impossible things about this night. "Better?" Cassandra asked, kneeling to roll up the sweatpants so Luna wouldn't trip. Luna nodded, but her eyes kept darting to the windows, tracking every sound from outside. The storm had passed, leaving behind an unsettling quiet that made the cabin feel like the last shelter in the world. "Are you hungry?" "I don't have much, but I can make some soup, or toast. I'm really good at toast." Cassandra tried for humor, but Luna's expression remained grave. "Not hungry," the girl said softly. Then, after a pause, "But I'd like to sit by the fire, if that's okay." "Of course." Cassandra moved to the stone fireplace and began building a fire with the seasoned wood Aunt Marie had always kept stocked. Within minutes, flames crackled to life, casting dancing shadows across the walls. Luna settled on the worn rug in front of the hearth, pulling her knees to her chest. In the firelight, her features seemed almost ethereal, too perfect, too symmetrical. And those eyes, they reflected the flames in a way that human eyes shouldn't. Cassandra sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. Luna, I need to ask you some questions. Not because I'm going to call anyone. I promised I wouldn't. But because I need to understand what we're dealing with here. Luna was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. What do you want to know? The compound you mentioned. What kind of place was it? A home. For people like me. Luna traced patterns in the rug's fibers. We lived together, families. But there were rules. So many rules. And if you broke them... She touched the burn marks on her wrists absently. Cassandra's jaw tightened. Someone hurt you. The enforcers. They said I was too wild. That I needed to be controlled before the transition. Luna looked up, her eyes meeting Cassandra's. They were wrong. I wasn't wild. I was just... different. I asked too many questions. Wanted to see beyond the borders. Mother said I had her spirit. That I'd be strong one day. That's why they watched me so closely. Your mother, Cassandra said gently. You said she told you to run. Is she... Luna's face crumpled, and suddenly she looked exactly like what she was, a terrified child who'd lost everything. I don't know. The fire started in the main hall. There was so much smoke. Mother pushed me toward the forest gate and told me to run. She said... Her voice broke. She said I was special. That I had to survive, no matter what. That he would come looking for me, but I shouldn't let them take me before I was ready. He? Who's he? But Luna shook her head violently. I can't. If I say his name, if I even think it too loud, he'll know where I am. They all will. Cassandra wanted to press, to demand real answers, but something in Luna's terror felt genuine, primal even. Instead, she reached out slowly and placed a hand on Luna's shoulder. The girl flinched at first, then relaxed into the touch. Okay, no more questions tonight. But Luna, I need you to understand something. Cassandra waited until the girl met her eyes. I don't know what you're running from, and I don't know what kind of people put those burns on your wrists. But I do know this. Nobody is taking you anywhere you don't want to go. Not while I'm here. Luna's eyes went wide. You don't know what you're promising. They're powerful, more powerful than you can imagine. I've dealt with powerful people before, Cassandra said, her voice harder than she intended. Powerful people who thought they owned me, thought they could control every choice I made. I walked away from all of that with nothing but a backpack and a tank of gas. So whoever these people are, whatever they want, they can get in line. For the first time since Cassandra had found her, Luna smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. You're braver than you know. Or dumber, Cassandra admitted. My ex-boyfriend used to say I had a talent for finding trouble. Is that why you left? Your boyfriend? Cassandra hesitated, surprised by the question. It had been so long since anyone asked about her past. He was part of it, but mostly I left because I was suffocating. My family had this whole life planned out for me. Who I'd marry, where I'd live, what I'd do. They never asked what I wanted, and when I tried to choose something different, they cut me off completely. So you ran, Luna said softly. Like me. Yeah, like you. Cassandra felt that connection again, that strange recognition. I guess we're both orphans now. Funny how that works. Luna leaned against Cassandra's side, a gesture so trusting it made Cassandra's chest ache. Can I stay here with you? Just for a little while? Cassandra wrapped an arm around the girl's shoulders. As long as you need. They sat in silence, watching the fire burn low. Outside, the forest had come alive with night sounds, owls hooting, branches creaking, and something else. Something that sounded almost like footsteps, pacing the perimeter of the cabin. Luna tensed. They're searching, she whispered. Who? The scouts. They track by scent. By the bond. Luna's fingers dug into Cassandra's arm. But the storm will have washed away most of my trail. And this cabin, it smells old, lived in. It might confuse them, bond. Cassandra's heart began to race. Luna, what aren't you telling me? Before Luna could answer, a howl split the night, long, mournful, and far too close. It was answered by another, then another, until the forest echoed with a chorus that raised every hair on Cassandra's body. Luna's eyes had gone amber bright again, almost glowing in the dimness. They're calling for me, she whispered. The pack. They know I'm here. Cassandra pulled Luna closer, her mind racing. Pack, scouts, bonds, burns that healed too fast and eyes that glowed like an animal's. The impossible truth crashed over her like a wave. Luna, she said carefully. What are you? The girl looked up at her with ancient, sorrowful eyes. I'm sorry. I should have told you before you made promises, but I was so scared and you were so kind and I just... She took a shaky breath. I'm a shifter, Cass, a werewolf, and the people looking for me, they're not just powerful. They're the royal pack. And the Alpha King. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. He's my father. Chapter 3. The Weight of Royalty, Cassandra. His first instinct was to laugh. Werewolves. And Alpha King. It sounded like something out of the paranormal romance, novels she used to hide under her mattress as a teenager. But Luna wasn't laughing. And those howls outside were very, very real. Your father, Cassandra repeated slowly, trying to keep her voice steady. The Alpha King is looking for you. Luna nodded miserably. I know how it sounds, crazy, impossible, but it's true. All of it. She held up her small hands, and Cassandra watched in horror and fascination as the fingernails lengthened slightly, becoming claw-like, before Luna curled her fists and forced them back to normal. We're real. We've always been real. Just hidden. Cassandra's mouth had gone dry. She should be terrified. Should be running for the door, getting as far away from this supernatural nightmare as possible. Instead, she found herself thinking about the burn marks on Luna's wrists, the desperation in her voice, the way she'd trembled in the rain. Monster or not, Luna was still a child. Still afraid. Okay, Cassandra said, surprising herself with how calm she sounded. Okay, werewolves are real. Your father is some kind of king, and he's looking for you. Why? She paused, a darker thought occurring to her. Is he the one who hurt you? No. Luna's response was immediate and fierce. No, he doesn't even know about the burns. He's been gone for months. Some kind of territorial dispute in the northern regions. That's why the council felt bold enough to... She trailed off, her jaw tightening. They said they were preparing me. That when father returned, I needed to be presentable as an heir. Obedient. Controllable. An heir, Cassandra echoed. The word carried weight she was only beginning to understand. Luna, if your father is this powerful king, why would you run from him? Wouldn't he protect you? Luna's expression grew complicated. Love and fear and something else Cassandra couldn't quite name. Father loves me. I know he does. But he's been different since mother died. Colder. More focused on duty and tradition. The council has his ear now, and they want me shaped into something I'm not. She pulled the sleeves of the oversized shirt down over her hands. When he left, he put me in their care. He trusted them. And they hurt me, Cass. They said it was for my own good, that I needed to learn submission before my first shift. Your first shift? When I turn 8, I'll shift for the first time. Transform into my wolf form. It's supposed to be sacred, a ceremony with your family, a celebration. But the council wanted to make sure my wolf would be tame, broken in, like a horse. Luna's voice cracked. I heard them talking. They were going to use silver chains during my first transformation, to bind my wolf, make her weak, so I'd never be strong enough to challenge their authority. Cassandra felt rage building in her chest, hot and righteous. She'd seen this before in her own world. Powerful people who disguised cruelty as discipline, who broke spirits in the name of tradition. That's why you ran, she said. The fire gave you a chance, Luna nodded. Mother's sister, Aunt Vera, she started it. I think she knew what the council was planning. She set the main hall ablaze and created chaos so I could escape. She told Mother, and Mother got me to the gate. Tears spilled down Luna's cheeks. I don't know if either of them survived. I don't know if Father even knows I'm gone yet, but when he finds out, he'll come for you. With everything he has. Luna wiped her eyes roughly. Father doesn't lose things, especially not his only child. He'll tear apart every town, search every forest until he finds me. And when he does... She looked up at Cassandra with heartbreaking honesty. He won't ask questions. He'll just take me back. And if you try to stop him, he'll see you as a threat. Maybe even an enemy. The howls came again, closer now. Cassandra moved to the window and peered through the curtains. The forest was dark, but she could see shapes moving between the trees, large, four-legged shapes that moved with unnatural coordination. "How long do we have?" she asked. "I don't know. The scouts are just foot soldiers. They'll report back to their commander before making a move. But once Father arrives..." Luna joined her at the window, standing on her toes to see out. "He won't wait. He won't negotiate. He's the Alpha King, Cass. He doesn't have to." Cassandra's mind raced. They could run, take the car, and drive until they hit a major city where wolves couldn't follow. But Luna was right. How do you hide from someone with an army of supernatural trackers? How do you outrun someone who could command entire packs with a single word? "Tell me about him," Cassandra said suddenly. "Your father. What's he like?" Luna seemed surprised by the question. "He's complicated. Before Mother died, he was warm. He'd take me into the forest and teach me about the old ways, about honor and protection. He said being Alpha meant serving your pack, not ruling them." Her voice softened with memory. "He used to call me his little moon, said I was the light that kept him from getting lost in the darkness. But after your mother, the darkness won." Luna's shoulders sagged. He threw himself into being king, into duty. The council told him that showing emotion was weakness, that an alpha must be iron and stone. So he became that. He stopped tucking me in, stopped telling stories. When I cried, he'd just stare at me like I was some puzzle he couldn't solve. Cassandra heard the pain in Luna's voice, the ache of a child who'd lost both parents, even though one still lived. She knew that particular kind of grief. Her own father had been in the same room as her for years after her mother's death, but he'd never really been present. "Maybe he doesn't know," Cassandra said quietly. "Maybe the council kept the abuse from him. If he knew what they'd done to you, he should have known." Luna's sudden anger startled them both. He should have stayed, should have asked questions, should have noticed that I stopped smiling. But he didn't, because he stopped seeing me as his daughter. Now I'm just the heir, just another piece in his political game. Before Cassandra could respond, a new sound cut through the night, different from the howls. This was deeper, resonant, carrying an authority that made the very air feel heavier. It wasn't quite a howl and not quite a roar. It was something that existed between human and animal, and it radiated pure, undiluted power. Luna went rigid. "No," she whispered. "No, it's too soon. He couldn't be here already." "Luna, what was that?" The girl's face had gone pale. "That was Father, his call. He's here, Cass. The Alpha King is here." Chapter 4. The Alpha at the door. Cassandra's protective instincts kicked in before rational thought could catch up. She grabbed Luna's hand and pulled her away from the window. "Upstairs. There's a crawl space in the bedroom closet. Aunt Marie used to hide her valuables there. Go. Now." "He'll smell me," Luna protested, but her feet were already moving. Wolves can track scent through walls. "Then we buy time." Cassandra's mind raced through possibilities, each more desperate than the last. "Go. I'll handle this." "Cass, you don't understand. I understand that you're terrified of going back." "That's enough." Cassandra squeezed Luna's hand once, then released it. "Trust me, please." Luna hesitated for only a heartbeat before nodding and darting up the stairs. Cassandra heard the bedroom door close, then the sound of the closet opening. Good. At least the child would have a few extra seconds if this went badly, and it was definitely going to go badly. Cassandra moved to the kitchen, grabbed the largest knife from the block, then immediately put it back. What was she thinking? You didn't threaten a werewolf king with a kitchen knife. That was a good way to end up dead. Instead, she took a breath, smoothed down her damp hair, and tried to look like someone who hadn't just learned that monsters were real and was currently hiding one upstairs. The knock, when it came, was surprisingly civilized. 3 measured raps against the wooden door, patient and controlled. Somehow that was more unnerving than if he'd simply torn the door off its hinges. Cassandra opened it. The man on her porch stole the breath from her lungs. He was tall, easily, 6'4", with broad shoulders that filled the doorway and a presence that seemed to extend far beyond his physical form. His hair was dark, almost black, with silver threading through it at the temples. His face was all sharp angles and harsh beauty, like something carved from stone by an artist who understood that power didn't need softness to be devastating. But it was his eyes that trapped her. They were the same amber gold as Luna's. But where the child's held fear and vulnerability, his held something ancient and absolute. They were the eyes of a predator, a king, something that had never known what it meant to be prey. He was dressed simply. Dark jeans, a black Henley that clung to a body clearly built for violence, but he wore them like armor. Like a throne. "Good evening," he said, and his voice was exactly what she'd expected. Deep, resonant, with an edge that suggested he didn't waste words. "I apologize for the late hour. My name is Kael Thorne. I'm looking for someone." Cassandra's heart hammered, but she kept her expression neutral. "It's nearly midnight. I don't know anyone around here. I just inherited this place." His eyes tracked over her face, with an intensity that made her feel exposed, analyzed. "I'm looking for a child. A girl, 7 years old, dark hair. She would have been traveling alone, likely frightened and disoriented." He paused. "Have you seen anyone matching that description?" Every instinct screamed at Cassandra to lie, to slam the door in his face and run. But something stopped her. Maybe the way his jaw was tight with barely controlled emotion, or the shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights, or the way his hands were clenched at his sides like he was holding himself back from tearing through the forest stone by stone. This wasn't just a king looking for his heir. This was a father looking for his child. Why? "Are you looking for her?" Cassandra asked instead of answering. Why now, in the middle of the night? Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, that she'd dared to question him. "That's none of your concern." "It is if you're standing on my porch demanding information." His expression hardened. "I don't demand. I ask once. Then I take what I need." "Is that how you treat everyone? Or just humans?" The words were out before she could stop them. His eyes flashed, literally flashed, with gold light. The temperature on the porch seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Careful," he said softly. "You're playing with fire you don't understand." "Funny," Cassandra shot back, adrenaline overriding common sense. "You're the second person tonight to tell me that. Maybe the problem isn't my understanding. Maybe it's that people keep secrets and expect others to just accept it." Kael took a step forward, and Cassandra's back hit the doorframe. He didn't touch her, but his presence was overwhelming. Heat and danger and something else that made her pulse race for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. "The child I'm looking for is my daughter," he said. And there was something raw beneath the authority now. "She was taken from a compound fire 3 days ago. I've been tracking her across 2 states. The scouts report her scent ends near this cabin." His eyes bore into hers. "So I'll ask you again, human. Have you seen her?" Cassandra's mind spun. Taken from a fire? 3 days ago? But Luna had made it sound like she'd escaped, that she'd run willingly. Who was lying? The terrified child upstairs? Or the desperate father at her door? "If I had seen a child alone in the woods," Cassandra said carefully, "I would have called the police. That's what normal people do." She wouldn't have gone to the police. She was taught better than that. Kael's expression shifted, becoming almost imploring. "Please, if you know anything, if you've seen anything, my daughter is in danger. The people who set that fire, who killed dozens of my pack members, they're still out there. They may be tracking her. She's not safe alone." Cassandra felt her resolve waver. He sounded genuine, looked genuinely devastated, but Luna's words echoed in her mind. "He won't ask questions. He'll just take me back." "I'm sorry," Cassandra said. "I haven't seen anyone. Maybe she's still out there, deeper in the forest." Kael stared at her for a long moment. Then his nostrils flared slightly and his eyes went cold. "You're lying. Excuse me? I can hear your heartbeat. It's racing. Your pupils are dilated. Your breathing is shallow." He leaned in closer. "And I can smell her. My daughter. Her scent is all over this cabin. She's here." Panic clawed up Cassandra's throat, but she forced it down. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't." The single word was a command that resonated in her bones. "Don't lie to an alpha. Don't come between a father and his child. You have no idea what you're interfering with." "Maybe not," Cassandra said, standing her ground even as every survival instinct screamed at her to move. But I know what terror looks like. And that child, whoever she is, she's scared. Of something. Someone. So before I hand anyone over to anyone, I need to know she'll be safe. Kael's expression twisted into something between admiration and fury. You dare to judge me? To question my ability to protect my own blood? I dare to protect a scared little girl until I know what's waiting for her. For a moment, the world hung in balance. Kael's power pressed against her like a physical weight, and Cassandra knew that if he wanted to, he could tear through this cabin like paper and take Luna by force. Instead, he stepped back. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, he said quietly. But you're right about one thing. She is scared, and I need to know why. Before Cassandra could respond, Luna's voice came from behind her, small and trembling. Father? Cassandra turned to see Luna at the base of the stairs, her small form swimming in oversized clothes, her amber eyes wide with a devastating mixture of love and fear. Kael's entire being transformed. The Hard King vanished, replaced by a father who just found his missing child. Luna, he breathed and started forward. Luna flinched back. That single motion stopped Kael like he'd hit a wall. Chapter 5. Broken Bonds. The silence that followed was suffocating. Cassandra watched Kael's face cycle through emotions too quickly to name. Shock, pain, confusion, and finally a carefully controlled blankness that somehow hurt worse than raw grief would have. Luna, he said again. But this time his voice was careful, measured. The voice you'd use with a wild animal you didn't want to spook. I've been looking everywhere for you. Are you hurt? Luna shook her head, but didn't come closer. Her small hands gripped the banister like it was the only thing keeping her upright. How did you find me so fast? Your aunt's distress call reached me in the Northern Territories. I came as soon as I heard about the fire. Kael took one cautious step into the cabin, and Cassandra saw him stop himself from taking another when Luna tensed. The pack has been searching for 3 days. We thought. His voice cracked, just slightly. We feared the worst. Aunt Vera, Luna whispered. Is she? Alive. Badly burned, but alive. She's recovering under the pack healer's care. Kael's eyes never left his daughter. She told me you ran, that your mother's sister helped you escape. Luna, why did you run from me? I didn't run from you, Luna said, and there was a world of pain in those words. I ran from them, from what they were going to do to me. Kael's expression sharpened. What who was going to do? Luna, what are you talking about? Cassandra watched Luna struggle with the words, watched her small body tremble with the weight of secrets. Without thinking, she moved to the child's side and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Luna grabbed onto her immediately, pressing close. It's okay, Cassandra murmured. You're safe here. Tell him. Kael's eyes tracked the movement, his gaze settling on where Luna clung to Cassandra, a stranger, instead of running to her father. The pain in his expression was quickly masked, but Cassandra had seen it. The council, Luna finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. While you were gone, they said I needed to be prepared, trained, made proper for an heir. Trained how? Kael's voice had gone dangerously soft. Luna pulled up her sleeves with shaking hands, revealing the circular burns on her wrists. In the cabin's light, they looked even worse than before, angry red marks that stood out starkly against her pale skin. The change in Kael was instantaneous. His whole body went rigid, his eyes blazing pure gold. The air itself seemed to crackle with barely contained violence. When he spoke, his voice was nothing human. Who did this? The enforcers. Under Councilman Garrett's orders. Luna's words came faster now, tumbling out like she'd been holding them back for too long. They used silver cuffs, said I was too wild, too willful, that I needed to learn submission before my first shift, or I'd be dangerous. uncontrollable. Tears streamed down her face. They hurt me, Father. Every day you were gone, they hurt me. And when I cried, they said I was proving their point, that I was weak and needed to be broken properly. Cassandra felt rage boiling in her chest, but it was nothing compared to what radiated off Kael. The temperature in the cabin had dropped so fast she could see her breath. The windows rattled in their frames. How long? Kael's voice was barely recognizable. How long did this go on? 6 weeks. Since 2 weeks after you left for the territories. And your mother knew? She tried to stop them. But without you there, the council said they had authority over your bloodline's training. That it was tradition. Mother fought them as hard as she could, but... Luna's voice broke. She wasn't strong enough. Not without you. Kael stood frozen, and Cassandra realized with dawning horror that he was struggling not to shift. She could see it. The way his muscles tensed, the way his breathing had become ragged, the way his hands had curled into claws that were becoming less and less human. Kael, Cassandra said sharply, surprising herself. Not here. Not in front of her. His eyes snapped to her, and for a moment, she thought he might tear her apart for daring to use his name, for daring to give him orders. But then, he seemed to register Luna's terrified expression, and the gold in his eyes dimmed fractionally. You're right, he managed. He closed his eyes, took 3 deep breaths, and when he opened them again, they were amber instead of gold, almost human. Luna, look at me, please. Luna raised her tear-stained face. I didn't know, Kael said, and his voice was raw with emotion. I swear on your mother's memory I didn't know. The council sent me reports every week. They said you were thriving, learning your lessons. They said. He stopped, his jaw working. They lied to me, about everything. They said you knew, Luna whispered. Councilman Garrett told me you approved of the training, that you wanted me made strong. I would never. Kael took another careful step forward, then knelt down so he was at Luna's eye level, still keeping distance between them. Luna, I would never allow anyone to hurt you. You are my daughter, my heart, the only piece of your mother I have left. If I had known, if I had even suspected, but you weren't there, Luna said, and the accusation in her voice made Kael flinch. You left me with them. You stopped asking me how I was. Stopped reading me stories. You became... She struggled for the word. Cold. Like you didn't see me anymore. Just the air. Just another responsibility. Kael's composure cracked. I was grieving. Your mother was... She was everything. And when I lost her, I thought... He stopped, collected himself. The council told me that showing emotion was weakness, that an alpha must be stone for his pack to lean on. So I tried to be stone. I thought I was being strong for you. I didn't realize I was abandoning you. Cassandra felt her throat tighten. She'd seen this pattern before, people hurting each other while trying to cope with their own pain. Both of them suffering alone when they should have been healing together. Luna, Kael continued, his voice breaking. I failed you. I let my grief blind me. I trusted the wrong people. And you paid the price. I can't. He stopped, and Cassandra saw tears threatening in his eyes. This powerful Alpha King, brought to his knees by his own failure. I can't undo what happened. But I swear to you, on my life, on my crown, on everything I am, no one will ever hurt you again. The council will answer for this. Garrett will answer for this. And I will never, never leave you unprotected again. Luna stood trembling, caught, between love and fear, between wanting to believe him and being too hurt to trust. Cassandra felt the child's indecision through where they touched. "What do you need?" Cassandra found herself asking Luna softly. "What would make you feel safe?" Luna looked up at her, then back at her father. When she spoke, her voice was small but certain. "I want Cass to come with us, to your pack, just for a little while, until I know it's really safe." Kael's eyes widened, then shifted to Cassandra with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You would do this? Enter a world you don't understand? Put yourself at risk for a child you've known less than a day?" Cassandra met his gaze steadily, even as her heart hammered. She's scared. She needs someone who's just hers right now, someone outside of pack politics and traditions and all the things that hurt her. She paused. "Besides, someone needs to make sure your council understands that the world is watching, that humans know she exists." A ghost of a smile touched Kael's lips, the first real warmth she'd seen from him. "You're either the bravest or most foolish woman I've ever met." "So I've been told," Cassandra said dryly. "Do we have a deal?" Kael looked at his daughter, at the way she clung to this human stranger, and something shifted in his expression. Acceptance, resignation, and maybe, just maybe, a spark of hope. "We have a deal," he said. "Welcome to the pack, Cassandra Whitmore." Chapter 6. Into the wild. They left the cabin at dawn, when the forest was still wrapped in mist, and the world felt caught between dreams and waking. Cassandra had thrown a few essentials into her backpack: clothes, her phone charger, the photograph of Aunt Marie. But it felt inadequate for what she was walking into. Luna rode in the back seat of Cassandra's Honda, pressed against the window and watching the trees blur past. Kael had offered to drive them in one of the pack vehicles, but Cassandra had insisted on her own car. Some small rebellion, some way of maintaining control when everything else was spiraling into the impossible. Kael followed on a motorcycle that was far too expensive and sleek to be riding through mountain roads. Even from behind, Cassandra could feel his presence, a constant awareness that prickled at the back of her neck. She'd catch glimpses of him in the rearview mirror, and every time, those amber eyes would be watching her car with predatory focus. "He won't let anything happen to us," Luna said quietly from the back seat, reading Cassandra's tension. "Father's protective, maybe too protective." "Is that why the council was able to manipulate him?" Cassandra asked, keeping her voice gentle. "Because he was focused on protecting everyone else and forgot to protect himself?" Luna was quiet for a moment. "Mother used to say that father carried the weight of every pack member like it was his own. That he felt every loss, every pain. When she died, it was like he couldn't hold all that grief in his own, so he tried to lock his away. Became what the council told him to be." Cassandra's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "The council sounds like they enjoyed having control over him. Councilman Garrett especially. He wanted father to mate again, to some daughter from a powerful southern pack. Said the pack needed a Luna, needed stability." Luna's voice dropped. "He said I needed a mother who could teach me proper behavior. That mother had been too soft on me." Rage flared hot in Cassandra's chest. "Your mother sounds like she was exactly what you needed." "She was perfect," Luna whispered. "She used to take me to this clearing in the forest where wildflowers grew. She'd shift into her wolf form and let me ride on her back while she ran. She said freedom was our birthright, and no one could take it from us unless we let them." A sob caught in her throat. "But they took her anyway, and then they tried to take it from me." Cassandra wanted to pull over, to hold Luna while she cried, but Kael had made it clear that stopping wasn't safe. They needed to reach Packlands before the council realized Luna had been found, before they could prepare their lies and defenses. "Your mother was right," Cassandra said firmly. "Freedom is your birthright, and we're going to make sure you get it back." They drove for 3 hours, leaving paved roads behind for dirt tracks that wound deeper into wilderness than Cassandra had ever ventured. Her phone lost signal after the first hour. The trees grew denser, older, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out most of the sky. Finally, Kael signaled for her to stop at a clearing where several other vehicles were parked. When Cassandra killed the engine, the silence was absolute. No highway sounds, no distant civilization. just forest and the whisper of wind through ancient trees. Kael was at her door before she'd even unbuckled her seatbelt. Up close in daylight, he was somehow more intimidating. The exhaustion she'd seen in his eyes last night was still there, but now it was joined by determination and something that looked like barely leashed violence. "From here, we walk," he said. "The pack doesn't allow vehicles beyond this point. It's about 2 miles to the compound." Cassandra climbed out, helping Luna from the back. "How many people live in this compound?" 347, Kael said. Though after the fire, his jaw tightened. "We lost 23, mostly guards and council members who were in the main hall when it went up." Luna made a small sound of distress. Cassandra pulled her close. "I'm sorry," she said to Kael. "I know they were your people." His eyes met hers, and she saw the weight of those deaths in them. "They were under my protection. Their blood is on my hands," he paused. "But some of them, the enforcers who hurt Luna, their deaths were justice. I only regret I wasn't the one to deliver it." The cold certainty in his voice sent a shiver down Cassandra's spine. This was the Alpha talking now, not the grieving father. This was the king who ruled through strength and would destroy anyone who threatened his own. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt something closer to reassurance. They started walking. The path was barely visible, marked only by ancient stones and the occasional tree with its bark stripped in vertical lines. Territorial markers, Cassandra realized. This was packland. Every tree, every stone, every inch of soil was claimed. Other wolves appeared within minutes, huge creatures that melted out of the forest like shadows given form. Some walked on 4 legs, their fur ranging from silver to black to russet. Others stood on 2 legs in an in-between state that made Cassandra's brain hurt to look at, wolf heads and claws, but humanoid bodies. They didn't approach. They simply flanked them, walking parallel through the trees, their eyes glowing in the shadows. "They're the perimeter guard," Kael explained, noticing Cassandra's wide-eyed stare. "They've been patrolling since the fire, making sure no threats enter our territory." "Are they always—" Cassandra gestured vaguely at the half-shifted forms. "In their between form?" "When on duty, yes. It's the most versatile for combat. Wolf senses and claws, human reasoning and dexterity." Kael glanced at her. "Does it disturb you?" "It's different," Cassandra admitted, "but no more disturbing than finding out werewolves exist in the first place." A hint of amusement touched his lips. "You're adapting remarkably well for a human." "I'm good at survival," Cassandra said. "You learn to roll with the punches when life keeps throwing them." His expression softened slightly, and Cassandra wondered what he saw when he looked at her. Not just a human who'd stumbled into his world, maybe. Something more. Before she could analyze the thought, the trees opened up ahead, and Cassandra stopped breathing. The compound wasn't what she'd expected. Instead of some primitive camp, she was looking at a small village that seemed grown from the forest itself, buildings of stone and wood nestled between massive trees, their architecture both ancient and oddly modern. Rope bridges connected tree houses built into the canopy. A central square featured what looked like an amphitheater carved from natural rock. And everywhere, there were people. Some human-looking, others clearly wolves even in human form, their movements too fluid, their eyes too bright. They moved through the compound with purpose. But as Kael emerged from the tree line with Luna and Cassandra, all activity stopped. Every eye turned toward them. "Stay close," Kael said quietly, his hand moving to the small of Cassandra's back in a gesture that was both protective and possessive. "The pack has been in mourning and chaos. Seeing their princess alive will cause reactions." "What kind of reactions?" Cassandra asked. But before Kael could answer, a woman's cry split the air. "Luna!" A figure broke from the crowd. A woman with silver-streaked hair and a face ravaged by burns, held up by 2 younger pack members. Despite her injuries, she moved with desperate speed toward them. "Aunt Vera," Luna sobbed, breaking away from Cassandra and running to the woman. Cassandra watched the reunion, tears and joy and relief so overwhelming it hurt to witness. Around them, more pack members began to approach, murmuring Luna's name like a prayer, reaching out to touch her as if to confirm she was real. Kael's hand remained on Cassandra's back, anchoring her as the crowd swelled. "They need this," he said softly. "She's their hope. Their proof that life continues after tragedy." "And the council?" Cassandra asked, scanning the crowd. "Where are they?" Kael's expression hardened. "Councilman Garrett is in the hall. I sent word ahead that I was bringing Luna home, and that I required an emergency council meeting immediately upon our arrival. You're going to confront them, now. I'm going to demand answers, witnesses, truth." His eyes blazed gold. "And then I'm going to pass judgment." A tall man pushed through the crowd, older, distinguished, with gray hair and calculating eyes that tracked over Luna, then lingered on Cassandra with undisguised curiosity. "My king," he said, bowing. "Welcome home. We've been beside ourselves with worry over the princess." "Councilman Garrett," Kael said, his voice devoid of warmth. "How fortunate. You can lead us to the hall. We have much to discuss." Garrett's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Of course, my king. Though I must say bringing a human to Packlands is unprecedented." "Everything about the last week has been unprecedented," Kael said coldly. "Let's go." As they moved toward the central hall, Cassandra felt hundreds of eyes on her. Curious, suspicious, some hostile. She was an outsider here, a human in a world of predators. But when Luna reached back and grabbed her hand, Cassandra squeezed tight and kept walking. She'd made a promise. And she was going to keep it, no matter what monsters she had to face. Chapter 7. Trial by Fire. The council hall was carved from stone that looked older than memory itself. Ancient symbols marked the walls, spirals and crescents and claw marks that told stories Cassandra couldn't read. A circular table dominated the center of the room, with high-backed chairs positioned around it. At the head sat an ornate throne of dark wood and silver, clearly meant for the Alpha King, but Kael didn't sit. He stood behind his throne, one hand resting on its back, his presence filling the room like a gathering storm. Luna stood at his right side with Cassandra just behind her, a silent guardian. 5 council members sat around the table. Garrett was among them, his expression carefully neutral. The others ranged in age from middle-aged to ancient, their eyes tracking between Kael and Luna with varying degrees of shock and calculation. "My king," an elderly woman with white hair began. "We are overjoyed to see Princess Luna return to us safely. You feared I would discover the truth," Kael interrupted, his voice cutting through the hall like a blade. "You feared that my daughter would tell me what you did to her in my absence." The room went deathly silent. Garrett recovered first, his voice smooth as oil. "My king, I don't understand." "What truth?" "We cared for the princess as you commanded. We ensured she was educated, protected." "Show them," Kael said quietly, looking at Luna. Luna's hands trembled as she rolled up her sleeves, revealing the silver burns that circled her wrists like obscene jewelry. The collective intake of breath from the council members was audible. Some genuine shock, others performing surprise. 6 weeks, Kael said, his voice deadly calm. "For 6 weeks, while I was in the Northern Territories dealing with border disputes you assured me were critical, my daughter was tortured. Silver cuffs, daily punishments, psychological manipulation designed to break her spirit before her first shift." His eyes blazed gold. "Who authorized this?" "My king, this is clearly a misunderstanding," Garrett began. "Do not insult my intelligence with lies." Kael's roar shook the stone walls. The temperature dropped, and Cassandra saw frost forming on the windows. "I have witnesses, I have evidence, and I have my daughter's testimony. So I will ask you once more, who authorized the use of silver torture on my heir?" An older councilman, his face pale, raised a shaking hand. "The enforcers acted under orders from the council's security committee. We were told." Garrett said it was traditional training, that all young wolves of royal blood underwent such preparation. "And you believed him?" Kael's voice was soft now, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You've served this pack for 40 years, Marcus. You were here when I underwent my training. Did you see silver cuffs on my wrists? Did you see burn marks? Marcus lowered his eyes in shame. No, my king, I did not. I trusted Garrett's judgment. He said you approved the measures, that you wanted Luna made strong. I wanted my daughter safe. Kael slammed his hand on the table, and the wood cracked beneath his palm. I wanted her loved and protected and prepared gently for the responsibility she would carry. Instead, you tortured a child and told me she was thriving. Cassandra watched the dynamics play out with horrified fascination. The council members were fracturing. Some looked genuinely appalled, others were carefully avoiding eye contact. But Garrett remained composed, his calculating gaze moving between Kael and Luna. My king, Garrett said carefully, I understand your anger. But perhaps we should discuss this privately, without... His eyes slid to Cassandra. Without human witnesses present. Pack business should remain within the pack. Cassandra Whitmore stays, Kael said flatly. She is under my protection and has earned the right to witness pack justice. She's human, Garrett pressed. Bringing her here violates centuries of tradition. Our secrets. Your secrets are already exposed, Cassandra found herself saying, her voice steadier than she felt. Every eye in the room turned to her. Luna told me everything 3 days ago. About shifters, about the pack, about what was done to her. So your traditions are already compromised. The question is whether you'll compound your failures with more secrecy, or whether you'll face what you've done. Garrett's expression hardened. You dare speak in a council meeting? You, who have no right to even enter these halls? I have the right given by your king, Cassandra shot back. And I have the right earned by being the only person Luna trusted enough to seek help from. Where were all of you when she was suffering? Where was this mighty council? Careful, human, Garrett said, his voice dropping to a growl. You're addressing your betters. I'm addressing cowards who tortured a child and hid behind tradition to justify it. Garrett rose from his seat, his eyes flashing gold. The air crackled with violence. You will show respect or sit down. Kael's command wasn't loud, but it resonated with such absolute authority that Garrett dropped back into his chair like his strings had been cut. You do not threaten those under my protection. You do not challenge my decisions, and you certainly do not deflect from your crimes by attacking the woman who saved my daughter's life. Kael moved around the table now, his gaze sweeping over each council member. Let me be absolutely clear. An investigation will be conducted. Every enforcer, every guard, every council member who had knowledge of Luna's torture will be questioned. Those found guilty will face pack justice. He stopped directly in front of Garrett. And if I find that you orchestrated this, that you used my grief to manipulate me, used my absence to abuse my child, there will be no mercy. My king, I only ever acted in the pack's best interest. Luna, Kael said, not taking his eyes off Garrett. Tell the council what Garrett said to you. His exact words. Luna's voice was small but clear. He said that father had become weak with grief, that he needed to be guided back to strength, that I was the key to controlling him, that if I was properly trained, properly broken, I could be used to influence his decisions, to make him more amenable to the council's guidance. The implications hit the room like a physical blow. This wasn't just abuse. This was treason. An attempt to control the Alpha King through his daughter. Garrett's mask finally cracked. That's a lie. The girl is traumatized, confused. The girl is my daughter, Kael said softly. And I believe her over you. Marcus, call the guards. Councilman Garrett is under arrest pending full investigation. He will be held in the cells until... You can't do this! Garrett surged to his feet. I am a councilman. I have rights, protocol to follow. You have nothing, Kael said. You tortured my heir. You attempted to manipulate your alpha, and worst of all, his voice dropped to something barely human. You made my daughter fear me, made her believe I approved of her suffering. For that alone, I should tear you apart where you stand. Garrett backed away, and Cassandra saw real fear in his eyes for the first time. My king, please. Take him, Kael ordered as guards entered the hall. And find every enforcer who touched my daughter. I want them in chains within the hour. As Garrett was dragged away, still protesting, the remaining council members sat in stunned silence. Finally, the elderly woman spoke. "My king, we failed you. Failed the princess. We should have questioned. Should have investigated. We have no excuse." Kael's shoulders sagged slightly, some of the terrible tension leaving him. "No, you don't, but you have the opportunity to make amends. This pack needs healing. My daughter needs to feel safe in her own home again. That starts now, with truth and accountability." He turned to Luna, kneeling before her. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. Sorry I let grief blind me. But I'm here now, little moon. And I promise you, on my life, on my crown, no one will hurt you again." Luna threw her arms around his neck, and Kael held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Cassandra felt her throat tighten, watching the broken bond begin to mend. When Kael finally stood, Luna still in his arms, his eyes found Cassandra's across the room. The gratitude there was overwhelming, but there was something else too, something that made her pulse quicken. "Come," he said softly. "Let me show you where you'll be staying. You've earned your rest." As they left the council hall, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just irrevocably entangled herself in something far more complex than she'd imagined, and she couldn't decide if that terrified or thrilled her. Chapter 8. Between two worlds, Kael led them through winding pathways lit by lanterns that seemed to glow without flame. Luna had fallen asleep against his shoulder, exhausted by the day's emotional toll. He carried her with such gentle care that Cassandra felt something soften in her chest. "This way," he said quietly, guiding Cassandra toward a structure built into the largest tree she'd ever seen. The building wrapped around the trunk, multiple levels connected by spiral stairs. "The royal residence. Luna's room is on the 3rd level. Yours will be adjacent." "You're putting me in the royal residence?" Cassandra asked, surprised. "Won't that cause issues? I'm human. An outsider." Kael paused at the base of the stairs, his amber eyes finding hers in the lantern light. "You're under my personal protection. That means you stay where I can ensure your safety. The pack is in turmoil right now. Emotions are high, loyalties are uncertain. Until I know every traitor is rooted out, you stay close." The way he said "you stay close" made something flutter in Cassandra's stomach. She blamed it on exhaustion and stress, nothing more. Inside, the residence was surprisingly modern despite its natural exterior. Smooth wood floors, comfortable furniture, technology seamlessly integrated with rustic charm. Kael carried Luna to her room, a space that looked like any little girl's bedroom, complete with stuffed animals and books and artwork on the walls. He laid her down gently, pulling a blanket over her. For a long moment, he just stood there, watching his daughter sleep, his expression raw with regret and love. "She looks peaceful," Cassandra whispered from the doorway. "First time in weeks, probably," Kael said roughly. He brushed Luna's hair back from her face with infinite gentleness. "I keep thinking about how many nights she cried herself to sleep while I was away. How many times she needed me and I wasn't there." Cassandra stepped into the room, standing beside him. "You didn't know. They made sure you didn't know. I should have known anyway. I'm her father. I should have felt it, sensed something was wrong." He finally looked at Cassandra, and the pain in his eyes was staggering. "You knew something was wrong within minutes of finding her. You protected her without hesitation. What does it say about me that a stranger showed my daughter more care than I did? It says you were manipulated by people you trusted. It says grief is complicated and messy and makes us do things we regret." Cassandra held his gaze. "But it also says you're here now. You believed her. You took action. That matters, Kael." He studied her face for a long moment, and Cassandra felt exposed under that scrutiny, like he was seeing past all her walls to something vulnerable underneath. "Why did you stop for her?" he asked quietly. "In that storm, when you could have kept driving?" Cassandra thought about lying, about giving some simple answer. But something about this moment, this man, demanded honesty. "Because I know what it's like to be alone and desperate. To need someone to see you, really see you, and choose to help even when it's inconvenient or dangerous." She paused. "And because I couldn't live with myself if I'd driven past her." "You're an extraordinary woman. Cassandra Whitmore." The way he said her name, like he was tasting it, learning its shape, made her breath catch. I'm really not. I'm just someone who couldn't walk away from a child in need. Most people would have. Most people do every day. Kael moved toward the door, gesturing for her to follow. Come, let me show you your room. You must be exhausted. Her room was next to Luna's, connected by a shared bathroom. It was smaller than Luna's, but beautifully appointed. A large bed with soft linens, a window overlooking the forest canopy, a desk with what looked like hand-carved details. It was my mother's sitting room, Kael explained, watching her take it in, before she passed. She used to come here to read, to have space away from the demands of being Luna. He paused. The pack's female alpha, the queen in human terms. Your mother was queen, Cassandra said, understanding dawning. And Luna's mother became queen when she mated with you. Yes. And now that role sits empty, which is part of why the council felt emboldened to act. Without a Luna to balance my authority, they thought they could guide me like a puppet. His expression hardened. They were wrong. Cassandra set her backpack down, suddenly aware of how close Kael was standing in the intimate space. How his presence seemed to fill the room. The council, the ones who weren't involved with Garrett. Will they accept me being here? They don't have a choice. But... He hesitated, and Cassandra saw him wrestling with something. You should understand what your presence means, to them. To the pack, I'm a human in a world of wolves. That much I get. It's more than that. You saved Luna, protected her when no one else could. In pack law, that creates a bond. A debt of honor. Kael moved to the window, his broad back to her. And you're staying in the royal residence under my personal protection. Living adjacent to my daughter, that sends a message. What kind of message? Cassandra asked, though something in her chest already knew the answer. Kael turned, and the intensity in his eyes pinned her in place. That I'm considering you as part of my inner circle. That you have my trust and favor. And to some, he stopped, jaw tightening. To some, it might suggest I'm considering you for a more permanent role. The implication hung between them like a physical thing. Cassandra's heart hammered. You mean as Luna? The pack will speculate. It's their nature. Kael took a step closer. I want you to understand what you're walking into. There will be those who resent you. Those who see you as an outsider trying to claim a position that should go to someone of rank and power. There will be challenges, verbal at first, but possibly physical if anyone is foolish enough to test my patience. And what do you want them to think? Cassandra heard herself ask. The question seemed to surprise him. He studied her for a long moment, and Cassandra saw something shift in his expression, calculation giving way to something more raw. I want them to think that you're valuable, that you're protected, that anyone who threatens you answers to me. He paused. As for the rest, I don't know yet. You weren't part of any plan, but I can't deny that Luna trusts you in a way she hasn't trusted anyone since her mother died. And he trailed off. You what? Cassandra pressed, something reckless driving her forward. I find myself wanting to know you better, Kael admitted, wanting to understand how a human woman with nothing to gain risked everything for a child she'd just met. How you stood up to me without flinching, how you spoke in that council chamber like you were born to it. His eyes held hers. You intrigue me, Cassandra, and I'm not easily intrigued. The air between them felt charged, electric. Cassandra knew she should step back, should maintain distance. This man was dangerous, not just because he was a werewolf king, but because of how he made her feel. Like she was visible for the first time in years, like she mattered. I should let you rest, Kael said, though he didn't move. Tomorrow will be difficult. The pack will want to see Luna, to celebrate her return. You'll be expected to attend. Expected or required? Cassandra asked. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. With you, I'm learning there's a difference. Consider it a request, from me. Not the king, just Kael. Just Kael. As if he could be anything just. But Cassandra found herself nodding. I'll be there. Good. He moved toward the door, then paused. Cassandra, thank you for everything. For Luna, for today, for... He seemed to struggle for words. For seeing us. Really seeing us. Before she could respond, he was gone, the door closing softly behind him. Cassandra sank onto the bed, her legs suddenly weak. What was she doing? She should be planning her escape, figuring out how to get back to her normal life. Instead, she was staying in a werewolf king's home, agreeing to attend pack celebrations, and feeling things she had no business feeling for a man who wasn't even human. But when she closed her eyes, all she could see was the way Kael had looked at Luna with such devastating love, the way he'd listened when she spoke, the way he'd said her name like it meant something. Maybe normal was overrated anyway. Chapter 10. Truths and Lies. Cassandra carried Luna back to the royal residence, the celebration continuing behind them in muted tones. Vera accompanied them, her burned face tight with worry. What did Garrett mean? Vera asked as they climbed the stairs. About my sister's death? Everyone knows it was a hunting accident. A rogue bear, they said. They said. Cassandra repeated carefully. But you had doubts. Vera's silence was answer enough. They tucked Luna into bed, and the girl barely stirred, exhausted from emotion and finally feeling safe enough to truly rest. Cassandra sat on the edge of the bed, unwilling to leave her alone. You care for her, Vera observed, settling into a chair by the window. Not just duty, real love. How could I not? Cassandra smoothed Luna's blanket. She's extraordinary, brave and kind despite everything they put her through. She trusts you more than anyone since her mother died. More than Kael, even. Vera's expression was complicated. That should make me jealous. I'm her blood aunt. But instead, I'm grateful. She needs someone who sees her as just Luna, not the princess or the heir. Someone who has no agenda. Everyone keeps saying that like it makes me special, Cassandra said quietly. But it's just human decency, basic kindness. Which is rarer than you think, even among our kind. Vera was quiet for a moment. The kiss. What Kael did at the celebration. You understand what that meant? Cassandra's hand stilled on the blanket. I'm not pack. I don't know all your customs. An alpha kissing someone in public, especially on the temple, which is a gesture of intimacy and claim. It tells the pack he's considering that person seriously. Not just as a casual interest. Vera's eyes were sharp despite their kindness. He's telling them you're important, that they should see you as potentially filling a role that's been empty too long. Luna, Cassandra whispered. Luna. The queen. His mate. Vera leaned forward. I know this is overwhelming. You've known us for days, but Kael hasn't looked at anyone like that since my sister died. And the way you look at him, I don't... Cassandra started to protest, but Vera's knowing smile stopped her. You do. And it's terrifying because it's real and fast and makes no logical sense. Vera's voice softened. But mate bonds don't follow logic. They follow something deeper. And whether you're human or not, whether you believe in fate or not, something brought you to Luna that night. Something brought you here. Before Cassandra could respond, heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs. Kael appeared in the doorway, his expression dark and troubled. His eyes went immediately to Luna, checking she was safe, then to Cassandra. We need to talk, he said. Both of you. But not here. Luna shouldn't hear this if she wakes. They moved to Kael's private study, a room that was all dark wood and leather, with maps of territories covering the walls. He poured himself a drink with shaking hands, then set it down without tasting it. Garrett showed me documents, Kael said without preamble. Letters between council members. Financial records. Communication logs. His jaw was so tight Cassandra thought it might crack. There was a conspiracy. Not just to control Luna, to remove me as alpha entirely, Vera gasped. That's treason. That's a coup, Kael finished. Carefully orchestrated over months. Garrett wanted to install himself as interim alpha, claiming I was unfit due to grief. He planned to use Luna as legitimacy. If the pack believed I'd approved of her training, they'd see me as cruel. If they knew I'd been absent and neglectful, they'd see me as weak. Either way, support for my rule would crumble. But your mother's death? Cassandra pressed. What did he say about that? Kael's eyes flashed gold. He claims he has proof it wasn't a rogue bear, that someone in the council arranged it, made it look like an accident. His voice broke. To destabilize me, to make me vulnerable to manipulation while I was drowning in grief. Vera's hand flew to her mouth. Kael, no. Who would? He won't say. Claims it's his insurance. That he'll only reveal the name if I grant him clemency. Kael slammed his fist on the desk, making both women jump. He wants to trade information for his life. And he stopped, collecting himself. I don't know if he's telling the truth or manipulating me again. Using my grief and rage to his advantage. Cassandra stood and moved to him without thinking. What does your instinct say? My instinct wants to tear him apart for what he did to Luna. Kael's hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. But beneath the rage, I think he's telling the truth. There were things in those documents, details only someone on the inside would know. Dates that align with my mate's death, money moving between accounts I never authorized. Then you interrogate him properly, Cassandra said firmly, with witnesses. With pack law backing you, don't make deals with him. Make him understand that truth is his only path to any mercy at all. Kael looked at her, something like wonder in his eyes. You sound like a Luna, like a queen. The word hung between them, heavy, significant. Vera cleared her throat delicately. I should check on Luna, she said, though they all knew it was an excuse. You two need to talk. When the door closed behind her, the study felt suddenly smaller, more intimate. I shouldn't have kissed you, Kael said quietly. Not in public, not without discussing it first. I put you in an impossible position. Did you mean it? Cassandra asked. Or was it political? A move to strengthen my position with the pack? I meant it, he said immediately. God help me, I meant every second of it. You've been here 3 days, Cassandra. 3 days, and you've turned my world inside out, made me question everything I thought I knew about duty and leadership and what matters most. He moved closer, and Cassandra's breath caught. I told myself I'd never feel this again, that I'd be stone for the pack, focus only on ruling and protecting. And then you appeared, this infuriating, brave, impossible human who won't back down and won't stop asking questions and won't let me hide behind my crown. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. I don't know what this is between us, but I know I don't want it to stop. Cassandra's heart was racing. She should step back, should remind him she was human, that she had a life outside this supernatural world, that everything was happening too fast. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how to be part of this world. You're already part of it, Kael said softly. Luna made you part of it the moment she trusted you. The pack made you part of it when they accepted you today. And he swallowed hard. I made you part of it when I realized I couldn't imagine sending you away. Kael. The door burst open. A guard stumbled in, his face ashen. My king, the cells, Garrett is dead. Someone got to him, and they left a message. Kael went rigid. What message? Carved into the wall beside his body. It says, the truth dies with traitors. The new order is coming. The guard's voice shook. My king, whoever killed him is still in the compound. And they want you to know they're not done. Kael's transformation was instantaneous, from vulnerable man to lethal alpha in a heartbeat. Lock down the compound. No one in or out. Triple the guard on Luna's room. His eyes found Cassandra's. And keep Cassandra under constant protection. If they're cleaning up loose ends, I might be one, Cassandra finished, ice flooding her veins. She'd thought the danger was over, thought Garrett's arrest meant safety. She'd been wrong. I won't let anything happen to you, Kael vowed, his voice rough with promise and barely controlled violence. Either of you. I swear it. But as alarms began to sound through the compound and guards rushed to their posts, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that the real danger was just beginning, and that before this was over, she'd have to choose. Stay in this world that had claimed her heart, or run back to the safety of the life she'd left behind, if running was even still an option.